Hello and welcome to this week's show. I am Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And we are Green Wisdom Health, home of your low-cost lab work and very informative information. Here to bring you a very exciting show again today. Well, I don't know if it's exciting or...
irritating.
Yeah, irritating. Maybe that's a really good word to put on it. But we are going to talk about leaky gut or irritable bowels. So if you have either one of those or don't know what that means and have any kind of symptoms that have to do with constipation, bloating, that kind of thing, you might want to tune in and listen because Dr. Lewis has got some wonderful advice about why that's happening and what you can do about it. So, see, I'm making a very upbeat show out of a very poopy situation.
Ooh, good word.
So go right ahead, Dr. Lewis, and please tell us about bad gut stuff.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the people that give me input. You know, Pete from Missouri, you said one thing and it cascaded into a whole lot of different things that happened that changed what was going on here. Just a huge cascade of things that's going to be better and better for us, which means better and better for you. So thanks, Pete. You did a really good job. You got the snowball rolling. We're thinking about going into a series of, Hi there. There goes Siri. Yeah, I said series, and she said Siri.
That's because you talk Texan, so she picks up things that she should not.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a cascade into many, many good things. So we're thinking about doing an ongoing series of GI issues, and then we can go into an entire series on immune system and just on and on and on. So if you want us to have more of a continual things that piece together, y'all let us know. All right, GI tract. All things lead to the gut, or gut issues can lead to all kinds of different symptoms and diseases. Now, we've known this for over 100 years about the immune system being mostly in the gut. Nobel Prizes were won over 100 years ago about the importance of probiotics, which we'll get into. But here's some of the things that can lead, or gastrointestinal dysfunction can lead to. As far as the brain, if you have a GI issue, which is usually leaky gut because of our genetically modified foods, it's full of glyphosate, Roundup, and all kinds of other pesticides, it can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and insomnia. And I know some people have sought us out for their insomnia. Well, that's something you kind of have to stick with for a while. The real problem is we have to give it enough time for it to begin to work. And it takes time to heal the guts because we're putting bad food in on top of it, even though I'll tell you how to eat a little bit healthier. So the brain, anything you're feeling can be from gut issues. As far as the skin, if you have acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, that is very much related to GI function or improper GI function. Now, Janet and I do a lot of talk about thyroid, but if you have Graves' disease, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or weight fluctuation, or you're just overweight and can't lose it, we do get a few people that are underweight and can't gain, and that is almost always a big part of the equation is gut function and getting that working correctly. Liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and toxic burden. And I'm pretty persnickety about where I want the liver enzymes because, you don't want it in the big, wide range on your lab. You want it in the optimal range. And hopefully we're going to get around to reading a message from one of my dear, sweet patients and cleaned up her liver. And it only took her 3 months, although sometimes it takes much, much longer. As far as overall health, the GI tract dysfunction can lead to migraines, fatigue, low energy. I hear fatigue all day long because it gives you nutrient malabsorption. That inflammation can lead to obesity. Then you get people that are chronically constipated, or they have diarrhea, or they fluctuate between the two, and that's pretty common too. here's something people don't really relate is cardiometabolic, which is coronary heart disease, increased visceral fat, that would be, beer belly, type 1 diabetes, believe it or not, and atherosclerosis, and that has a lot to do with what's going on in your GI tract. Now, here we're coming to the big one, and I told you we can do a series on just immune system itself. But your immune system, depending on what research you read, is about 60 to 80% in your GI tract. If you get frequent colds, you catch something as soon as somebody sneezes. If you have autoimmune diseases, and they're extremely varied in what they are. If you have allergies, whether that's airborne or food allergies, if you have asthma, if you have chronic inflammation. I talked to a young lady yesterday. She said, well, I just want to get rid of my inflammation. Her lab looked good. She was doing a lot of really good things, but her C-reactive protein was 19 point something, and it's like needs to be under a 1, and that goes beyond cardiac. That is inflammation that's spilling over from other areas of the body. So the GI tract is king. There's a pretty technical book called The Second Brain. For those of you that are interested, it will very much outline why your GI tract is incredibly important in everything that you do. So we're going to talk a little bit about pillars of health. You have digestion, which most people say, well, I'm pooping right, and so I'm digesting right. No, there's a difference, because digestion is number 1, elimination is number 2. And if you're chronically constipated, you'll never be well or never be able to lose weight. The third pillar is your microbial balance, and that's you have to put in probiotics. You have to stay with it, stick with it. Most of the probiotics on the market are not very good, or they're fake, or they're dead, according to this one guy that was an ex-special investigator for the FDA, and I believe everything he says. And it's kind of hard to get it balanced because we're still putting in things that cause the imbalance or dysbiosis. So I say more and more and better and better. Janet doesn't like that sometimes, or most of the time, I'm pretty inconsistent. So she brings me 2 capsules every night, and they're my probiotics, and they're 50 billion each, which, they're made at much more than 50 billion. So, and sometimes I do more than that.
Because it takes me longer to get him well when he doesn't do the maintenance. Is that kind of like a car? It's a bigger bill at the end whenever it breaks down.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one thing I will say, I'll treat anybody if they're semi-reasonable, not whining and complaining. They're looking forward to something positive. But men are harder to treat than women. I don't know why we are that way. We take better care of our pickup trucks down here in Texas than we do our own body, the temple of the Holy Spirit. Now, why women do more and they're more consistent, and that's a generality. That's generally very true. But women live longer than men. There was a thing strolling across TV today, said women's brains stay more alert and more active and more functional than men. And I don't know how that is, because they have the stress of having to baby us. And Janet does a good job taking care of me. So microbial balance is something you want to always think about. We do have a new product coming in that looks like it's going to be, holy cow, a miracle in killing yeast, and we do that all the time, but we're still experimenting with it. So if it works, you'll hear about it more later.
Well, could you tell everybody, because one of our favorite probiotics that we don't talk about very much, because generally we'll start them on a lesser amount of probiotic unless they are having these severe IBS issues or leaky gut issues. You really want to kind of jump on it first and get a whole bunch of probiotic in at once. And I wanted Dr. Lewis to talk a little bit about Probiotic 225, because it's a 225 billion strain. Is that correct?
Yeah, some of the stuff you get at the well, some of these stores that aren't the best place to get your supplements, they'll say 5 or 10 billion, but again, there's a lot of evidence that it's not really what it says it is. These 225 billion, actually, they put it in the package at 400 billion plus. And I told Janet one time, I said, I'm not going to take that. It's too expensive. And she just looks at me, and she's a real sweet lady. She's a master influencer to me. Yeah, she gave me a frowny face. She does it out of love, taking care of me. She says, Stephen, this is a lot cheaper than a visit to the GI doctor. And she said, it's cheaper than a colonoscopy. And she says it's much cheaper than getting a colostomy bag, so you've got to take care of your GI tract. I'm bad about taking care of everybody but myself, and that, I think that's more of a man trait, I guess. But so I take that once in a while, and I take the other that she gives me every night. But I've had GI problems all my life. It kind of runs in my family, and I don't think that's genetic. I think it's because of the way we learn to think and the way we learn to eat incorrectly. But she does take care of me. If I eat ice cream for supper, she gives me one of the big dogs, and that's at $2.25. It is like, oh, my God. And these are well-researched strains that are proven to work well together. They play well with each other. Some people worry a lot about survival. These probiotics contain strains that are backed by scientific research that proves that they are stable and they withstand the challenges of the GI tract. And that's one reason I like this particular company, is because they're all room temperature stable. And we do have a lot that you need to refrigerate, and they're all good, but it's easier for me to put it by my bed where I'll remember it at night. So there's a lot of research that goes into this. They're very, very stable, and there's a guaranteed live bacterial count. It's called CFUs, colony forming units, at the time of expiration. So when they say 225, but they package it at 400 plus, you're generally getting more like the 400 billion. So you get a lot more for your money, and I like that. They kind of dry them out, and this kind of causes them to go into hibernation, so to speak. And so they remain dormant until they're activated with the heat and the moisture in the GI tract. Is what really happens. A lot of these capsules that we have, some in just packages where you swallow it and some in capsules. The ones that are in capsules are very, very carefully manufactured so that it makes it down to where it should open up. So you just have to realize that there's a lot of research that goes into this, and it makes me much, much better. And it helps with anxiety, stress, and depression, and that's very well researched. I could get more into that if you want me to, but I want to get a little bit now into the IBS, or the barrier function. That's the fourth pillar, so to speak, of GI health. Well, we'll get into that. Let's jump back to digestion and absorption. We'll go into a minute the pillars of how you fix this. I definitely want to spend time doing that. But digestion and absorption, just because you put it in your GI tract does not mean you're going to digest it. And that's where digestive enzymes come in, and we have some that are absolutely fabulous. I've even had vegans that I love dearly that say, wow, I ate some meat and I took the digestive enzymes and I feel great. I have energy. And this is several. All of my stories that I tell, so as not to ever offend anybody, all of my stories are at least 2 and usually 3 to 4 different people. So I try not to offend anybody. But when a vegan will eat a little bit of meat, if they, will, and take a digestive enzyme, they come back and say, oh my God, I felt so much mental clarity. I had so much energy.
And we actually have digestive enzymes for vegans.
Yeah, Janet said I on another big podcast the other day, I might have said some rough things about vegans. And it's like, well, I treat dozens and dozens and dozens of them, so we get along real fine. But I just, I'm going to sit down and eat a ribeye when I'm eating with a vegan, or a buffalo burger or something like that. There's a lot of coordination that goes on in your body that it has to take these complex foods and deconstruct it, and that involves enzymes, different acids, which most of us don't have enough hydrochloric acid, bile salts, and bile salts is really important and very much overlooked. And it has to have peristaltic action, and that's one of the things that is lacking when you have chronic constipation. You have to have transport molecules. That's like the globulin, albumin, that sort of thing. The macronutrients, that's the large ones. That would be your proteins, your carbohydrates, your fats. Then you have your micronutrients, which is after your body breaks it down, it gets into the vitamins, the minerals, the phytonutrients. Then they can be transported into the body. But if you don't get them down small enough, into the right elements, then your body further down says, wow, I don't recognize this undigested protein, for example. And then your body begins to create antibodies against it. That opens up the junctions of the GI tract, creates leaky gut. It creates an environment that makes it perfect for yeast, fungus, and viruses and bacteria to grow, and they're the wrong ones. That's why you need a lot of probiotics. And that creates leaky gut. It creates autoimmune issues. So, it's kind of complicated, but I like to cut it down and say, not enough nutrients in, not enough digestion, assimilation, and got to put enough of those in to get the toxins out. So, I kind of try to cut it down.
Yeah, and you are wondering, well, do I have leaky gut? What are some of the symptoms of leaky gut? It's bloating, food sensitivities. I think Dr. Lewis covered a little bit of this. Thyroid conditions. You're extremely tired, joint pain, headaches, skin issues like rosacea or acne, digestive problems.
Yeah, if you got achy and stiff joints, it's not because you roll your joints too tight. That's a Colorado joke. Weight
gain. We also have what happens to you if you don't do anything about this. If you leave these symptoms unrepaired, and it is leaky gut, then it can lead to more severe health issues like inflammatory bowel disease or IBS, arthritis, eczema, psoriasis, depression, anxiety, migraine headaches, muscle pain, and chronic fatigue. Who would ever thought all of that was coming out of your gut?
Okay, so one of the things, she's just saying it in a different way. And people tell me all the time, man, I'm so glad Janet's there because I can understand her, and I don't necessarily understand what Dr. Lewis says. Well, that's not that uncommon. But one of the best products we've ever had, and we sell this all over the country. It's amazing how many packages of this goes out every day. It's amazing. It's called SBI Protect. And what it is, it's a serum-derived immunoglobulin. It's dairy-free for those that have dairy allergies. And what it does is it activates your immune system, and it makes your immune system more tolerant to the GI challenges. We just had some incredible results. One of the ones I like to talk about is a lady called me from Central Texas, and she said, that stuff's working. It's a miracle. Everybody in my family noticed. I said, well, you've only been on it a couple of months. That's what it takes, 2 to 3 months to begin to really work. I said, how could they notice? She said, well, at Thanksgiving, I didn't have to go to the bathroom 42 times. So it takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes a positive attitude. And I'm going to go off on a little tangent here.
Before you go into that, the SBI Protect, once you're on it, it takes it about 3 months before it's in really good, before you decide whether or not it's working.
Yeah, you've got to give it time. Some people give up, and I said on this big podcast, and I say big podcast because it's another guy's podcast. He has about 250,000 listeners. I said, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard, and I was not being real polite, so I did apologize later. I said, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard is I tried it a month, I wasn't impressed, and I said, well, I changed the oil in my truck. It doesn't get better gas mileage or drive better or idle better. And the guy just laughed. He says he understands it takes time, but it's all about attitude. It's about expectations. Let me find this here.
And the thing is, with the SBI Protect, it's you can tell with it right away, but as you stay on it longer and longer, it just gets better and better. All of your symptoms get better and better.
Because it takes time for your GI tract to heal. So I want to talk about, I talked about the guy, said, I tried it a month, I wasn't impressed. Let me tell you about good attitudes and expectation. This is from a sweet, sweet lady. Her name's Connie, but I won't say any more. She said, did labs yesterday and preliminary results are back. Turned around my fatty liver with supplements and other interventions. This was one of my main goals, and so glad I found Green Wisdom Health and Janet and Dr. Lewis to help me. Looking forward to the remainder results and moving forward to an even more enhanced, healthy me. Notice the lady's attitude and expectations. If you're positive, you get positive results. If you're negative, you get negative results. This lady is very positive. Of course, I love talking to her for that reason. You're going to get out of life what you put into it. So if you're constantly whining and complaining, which is one of the big indicators that you have a gut that's upset too, you just have to have the faith and a support group, hopefully your family and friends, that help you along, hold your hand, and that's what we do also.
And would you talk a little bit about the lab? She's mentioning getting the lab. Can you see IBS and leaky gut type symptoms on lab? And if so, what panel would you recommend to people out there?
You don't really see it. I mean, we can do some more esoteric things that I don't recommend because you can end up spending thousands of dollars where you could have spent hundreds and actually got well. But what I recommend is our comprehensive. I always like for you to add the hormones, but that's not really applicable as much to the leaky gut IBS. But our comprehensive just covers so much stuff, and we can suspect by your symptoms what you tell me and what your protein is, what your alkaline phosphatase is, what your albumin, your globulin. We can tell a lot of
what
that.
He's saying, and to break that down into layman's terms.
Here's the people that's going to say, I loved what Janet said.
Yes. It means he can see your digestion. He can see liver enzymes. He can see if you're breaking down everything properly. And yes, we have natural supplements that do help soothe that, heal it, repair it. And if you're thinking, well, what is he talking about, the comprehensive panel, that's actually on our website at greenwisdomhealth.com. And any of the panels that you click on that are our featured tests, they start with GWH for Green Wisdom Health because it includes Dr. Lewis's complimentary consultation. It includes 13 different lab panels, a functional medicine report, and it includes a supplement recommendation schedule of how to get you back to having a life worth living. And it is available throughout the United States. We use Quest Diagnostics, and you just basically order your lab online, go to your local Quest Diagnostic draw station. The results come back to us, and Dr. Lewis talks to you magically over the phone or through Zoom, or some come in the office. So
if you're brave, you can do Zoom and get to see my face. That's not always a good thing.
Right. So there's no need to guess at why you don't feel good, because some of these conditions or symptoms that we're telling you can go to so many other different things that you're still kind of guessing, hey, I think that's what's wrong, but you don't really know.
What's wrong is usually several steps removed away from what the symptoms are and what you think is wrong.
Right. And you were talking about the 4 pillars of health. There's also a leaky gut diet for a 4-step plan to heal leaky gut. That's free. And It's removing foods and factors that damage the gut and replacing with healing foods, repairing with specific supplements, and rebalancing with probiotics. And you discussed the probiotics. There is a leaky gut diet food list that I thought you guys might be interested in that actually helps repair the gut and calm it down. One of them's bone broth, and Dr. List might be able to explain why bone broth is so great for helping autoimmune and that kind of thing. Probably because of the lauricidin, the lauric acid that's in bone broth, right?
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Yeah. Which coconut products, same thing.
Yeah, we need to get back to eating more simply, and we're compiling different lists for different people because Brandy is doing an incredible job. She's doing so much work, taking the pressure off us. I do think we're going to have to make this a continuing series because I could, go, for another hour or two just on digestion and absorption. That's just pillar one. But what Janet was talking about, some people call it the 4 R's, other people have 8 R's, and it's remove toxins, organisms, and harmful foods. Well, that's, several podcasts just in itself. And this is very well researched with, even Journal of Dental Research has done some good job. New England Journal of Medicine. So you have to use some of these things to kill the noxious bacteria, yeast, and fungus in the guts. And again, we're experimenting with a new product that I think is going to be good.
And that's fermented vegetables also, right? And isn't that a great way to start killing off some of that?
That's really good. I don't think it's best to just whatever's in the air gets in there and ferments it. I think you need a starter kit, but that's me, and I think I don't do it. I've had a couple of secretaries do it, and their stuff actually tasted really, really good. But that helps fortify the probiotics that you're taking. The digestive enzymes, that's R number 2, at least from my list, and they vary. We have digestive enzymes. As Janice said, we have some specifically for vegans because we treat a lot of them.
They're called Digestive V.
Yeah.
For vegan.
And the Orthodigestime regular has, I think it's 8 times the pancreatin, and it's got ox bile. It's pretty sort of incredible with what it does. And there's a lot of good research that talks about digestive enzymes and even their anti-cancer effects. And that's from Journal of Patient Care. So, this is, if you have cancer, talk to Dr. Gonzalez, Nicholas J. Gonzalez. We know about the work of William Kelly and John Beard. Some of that work is really being resurrected, which I think is a good thing.
I think it's interesting that good fats are actually something that helps repair the gut.
I have to tell more people to eat higher amounts of good fat than I have to tell people to get off of fat. Now, there are some bad fats, the trans fats and hydrogenated and partially hydrogenated. You should stay away from that. So, you remove the toxins, replace the digestive enzymes, re-inoculate with the good probiotics, and that's a lot of work in and of itself. And repair the leakiness. Well, that SBI Protect is by far the best product we've ever seen. It's creating a lot of very, very happy people. And then their family sees it, and then they start ordering that. It's incredible, the stuff that goes out of here every day. And there are people that are getting better because they're putting good nutrients into the body that you just can't get out of your food that's kind of gone downhill.
We have many women that come into our office here, and they do the whole program, but they have husbands that are like, yeah, take care of yourself, but I don't need anything. And I've had several just in the last week that have told me their husband came up with like an irritable bowel problem. And so they bought the SBI Protect and took it home, and they both said that is the one product that their husband will take, that they stay on. They're not going to take anything else, but they're going to do SBI Protect. So that tells you a lot when you get a man to stick with it for any length of time on their own.
But we'll change the oil in our truck.
Right.
So folks, there's just a lot of things that can be done. I think we are just going to make this a continual series because I think I've just barely scratched the surface. If y'all would, just tell everybody about us, help other people get well, and we'll do our very best for you. We ask that God bless you.
Yes, and you can also go on Facebook to Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis, where he will answer all questions there, or try to anyway, or include it on a show topic. So it's Shooting without a G, and just ask him to accept your request, and he'll be more than happy to do that. We guys hope you have a blessed week. We'll be here next time.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You are only one step away from a life worth living.